That's the reason why I don't trust men, because my father just left me. That's not an excuse. I can't be punishing guys that I'm dating. The Next Door Podcast. Welcome back to the Next Door Podcast. I am Bestie Next Door, and I'm like your bestie next door. If you like your tea to be extra, extra sweet, then this place is not for you, because we like our tea to be sweet and bitter. Sweet enough that it goes down, bitter enough to wake us up. Now, guys, you see what's going on. We are going to make us a mojito, but of course, like I mentioned in previous episodes, we are now gearing towards more mocktail. So we are going to make us a virgin mojito. I want a strawberry mojito, so let's build us a mojito. We got to put our ice. And I'm going to load this up with a lot of ice too. I don't have simple syrup. Simple syrup is basically sugar water. So we're just going to have 2 tablespoons of sugar, which is what is in here. We're going to pour it inside, and we're going to pour in 1 shot of water. 1 shot of water. Let's just put like a half. Oh, I messed up. We're actually supposed to muddle the mint leaves inside of the shaker first, but you know what? I'm going to just do it backwards. So I don't have a muddler, so I'm going to use the back of a knife to muddle it inside. And I'm also going to put some strawberries inside as well. And I'm going to try to muddle it inside, which I think I can. I'm going to add the strawberries to the cup. And now we're going to go in with our lime juice. If we was drinking alcohol, we would have went in with our rum, but we're going to go in with our lime juice. We're going to do 2 shots of lime juice. 1, 2. Now, without further ado, let's shake us up a virgin mojito. Good shake. And we're not going to strain it because we need the ice, so we're just going to open it up and let's pour it up. Ooh, I actually muddled pretty well. You're not supposed to pour everything from your shaker inside the glass because you can't forget your club soda. And we are using ginger ale. Now with ginger ale, you can't shake ginger ale because it's carbon dioxide. So now let's pour us up our club soda. Ooh, a bubbly. Ooh, let's top it up more. And of course, first sip. This is mojito in. And guys, before we start this episode, if you're looking for the High Value Woman workbook, if you're looking for the High Value Woman audiobook, you're looking for the How to Ask a Man for Money ebook, or you're looking for 21 days of feminine energy healing, you can find all of that on onesecretroom.com. Also, guys, the guide to level up and seduction will be released this month. Now, on today's episode, we're really going to dive a little bit deeper. I want to kind of go more deep into dating. And when I say I want to go more deep into dating, I really want to tap into the relationship you have with your father. And I think that's something that's overlooked because us women, the relationship we have with our father kind of sets the tone of our dating life. And if you know that you don't have a healthy relationship with your father, that's something you need to work on and you need to heal. And you're not healing it because of your parent, it's really because of yourself. Now, I want to give you guys a story about me. I'm of Nigerian background. I was born in New York. And, you know, my dad already had the traditional role of paying the bills because most African men already understand that they have to be providers. And one thing that was very interesting about my childhood, I cannot sit here and lie to you and say, oh my God, my childhood was so bad. I actually had a really good childhood. I traveled a lot, business class with my dad when I was younger. Anytime he had any like business opportunities, things like that, or just for fun anyway. Even when it was summertime, anytime I was out of school as a kid. You know, as I got older, the dynamic between them started to change. And I want to say when I got to like 10, 11, I didn't lack anything as a kid as far as like material things. I didn't lack anything. You know, my parents made sure I had everything. My mom and my dad would get into arguments. And I can remember this because my dad traveled a lot. And I remember my dad flew back to Nigeria for whatever reason, and then he came back and him and my mom got into a big heated argument. And I could just remember hearing them go back and forth, and then my dad just putting his hands on my mom. And one thing I can say before it led to that situation, my mom was really a good wife. And that's why I kind of learned how to be a woman, because my mom would always make sure that we had what we needed as far as food and, just always making sure she had food for him when he came home from work, And I think that's also really important as a woman. When you are dealing with a man that's a provider, you have to understand that you are going to have to submit in the sense that you're going to have to take care of the house. Make sure that he has food when he comes home. Don't make him feel like when he comes home, it's World War III, because he's already fighting World War III outside and he doesn't want to come home fighting World War III when he comes home. Home is home. Home is where he's supposed to be able to relax. And that's the kind of thing that my mom wanted in her marriage, and that's what I learned from her as well. Anytime my dad would do something, maybe he'd come home late, she wouldn't argue with him about it at that moment. She'd always just kind of like put it behind her because she wanted the house to be peaceful, which is something that I commend her for, you know. And that day was so, like, I can remember that day like it was yesterday. I was a kid. I had my own room growing up. I have two older brothers. I'm the only girl, so I had my own room, and you know, they were arguing, and next thing you know, I hear my dad putting his hands on my mom. I really don't want to get too graphic because I don't want to like remember that, but after he did that, he just left, you know. Everybody in the area got involved. They called the ambulance, things like that. It was a little crazy story for me. I can never forget this day. And it affected my dating life in my teens because I had abandonment issues because my father just abandoned me. Like, it was just like, okay, you got into an argument, you put your hands on her. Maybe he was embarrassed because of what he did and everybody else got involved, but he just left. Like, he just up and left. He never even sat us down and said, you know what, me and your mom, we're not really working out. We're not really seeing eye to eye. He just left. It's something I never really talked about. I'm happy to share that with you because I'm trying to bring you to a point, and I want you to understand something in life. You have to learn how to let certain things go. And I think that it's until I started growing up and understanding that I can't blame my dad for what he did, and I can't hold on to it and say, well, that's the reason why I don't trust him because my father just left me. That's not an excuse. I can't be punishing guys that I'm dating because of what my father did. And it got to a point where it was like that. And when I started realizing that it was like that is when I kind of like stepped back and was like, whoa, you need to heal. Before you even think about dating anybody else, you need to heal. And when I healed from that traumatic experience and started realizing that, you know, I can't blame people that I encounter for what my dad did, is when my dating life started to become better. I started attracting more better men because I started to be more open. I started to see people for what they are and not make excuses. And that's something I want to tell you. I want to touch on so many different things on this episode. And I want this episode to kind of be really refreshing, which is why I decided to make a mojito. Hello. Now, I want you to look at the dynamic you have between you and your father. Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? Or your father abandoned you completely? And I want you to look at those situations that you encounter as a kid and look at your dating life now. Are you attracting broken men now, all because you didn't heal that trauma? See, trauma has a way of impacting our adult life. And that's something that we all notice with Gabrielle Union, for example, with her being more dominant in her relationships or her feeling like she still has to work. The reason why she feel like that now in her 50s is because when she was younger, she always felt like she had something to prove. She always felt like she was competing for things, which is why it affected her now. She never got the time to really heal it. She sort of kind of just lived with it. So that's why it's affecting her now in her marriage. When she had that interview and she mentioned her and Dwayne Wade goes 50-50, and she feels like if she doesn't work, then she won't be able to sustain the lifestyle that she's living. It all ties to her trauma. Tie into another topic, you may be feeling like you are not where you're supposed to be, or you feel like, you know, maybe your family is pressuring you to get married, to have kids. And I want to tell you something right now. Take your time. Family do have a way of impacting our lives as a whole, whether it be our love life or just our career. When it comes to your love life, always look at the relationship you have with the men in your family to understand your love language. For example, now me, what I would do before anybody try to break up with me, I would break up with them first. Even though they're not even thinking, they may not even be thinking about breaking up with me, but I'm just in my mind like, oh, it's over, over the littlest things. Like, I had an issue where I was always willing to leave. And when you're in a relationship, it's not about, some relationships are worth leaving. Absolutely. But there's some relationships that you know is worth fighting for. And I had that issue in my life where I'm always leaving somebody. Like, it's always me leaving. And you know the story I'm talking about with my ex-fiance where I left. So I had to understand that, okay, maybe it's because I really fear abandonment and I didn't know how to be alone. That also ties into not knowing how to be alone. When you were abandoned as a kid, you're going to have issues with being alone. And that's something you need to heal and understand, that it's okay to be alone. So when I started understanding that situation that happened with my parents allowed me to learn a lot, I started to look at the situations that happened to me as a kid from a different point of view. Instead of like, oh, you did this, you that. I started to be like, you know what? I wasn't old enough to understand what happened. However, I forgive you. And I forgive my father, not because of him, but for myself. And I understand that if I can't forgive you, then I can't move on. In order for me to move on, I have to forgive you. Hello. I really want to dive into that because I think that's really important when you're looking at your dating life and you look at all your relationships. Always look at the events that repeats itself, because in all relationships, us women, we like to point the finger like it's the man, it's the man, it's the man, but we also contributed something to a relationship as well. This episode is more about food for thought. I want you to think about all the relationships in your life, and I want you to think about how did they end it and what's something that repeated itself. You got to think about it. What is something that keeps repeating itself? Like, oh my God, this guy keeps leaving me because of X, Y, and Z. Or this guy keeps saying I'm like this. This guy keeps saying I'm stubborn. This guy keeps saying I'm not doing this. That is the issue you need to work on. And that's why I talk about getting the High Value Woman course, because the High Value Woman course is really going to be very beneficial to you in the sense that you're going to hear from a man's point of view. There's also different kind of feminine energy meditations that's going to help you to heal your feminine energy. I really recommend you guys to get the course. And I want to tie into this topic too, because currently right now, somebody is probably going through a stage in their life where they feel like their family is holding them back. And that tends to happen a lot because our family has a way of holding us back, like I mentioned before, either with love life or career. And I want to tell you this, stop living for your family. Live for who you are. Live for yourself. What is your legacy? Stop caring about, oh, my mom said or my family said I need to have kids this time, or my family said I need to go to this school. Do what makes you happy. If today was to be your last day, would you be happy with the decisions that your family picked for you? Or would you be more fulfilled and happy with the decisions that you made, even though it was mistakes? Because, people feel like, oh, I don't want to make no mistakes. But mistakes allow you to learn. Sometimes failure is really redirection. And you have to understand that. Like, okay, even though I failed at this, that doesn't mean that I'm completely bad. It's for redirection. Hello. And I want to say this. Wherever you are currently in your life, wherever your feet are is where you're supposed to be. You see, a lot of people like to rush the process of things. Don't rush the process. Even when it comes to this weight loss thing, people want to lose weight in a snap of a finger. It doesn't work like that. Life is all about process. And what makes life more interesting is when you enjoy the process. Enjoy the process of things. And I'm not only talking about dating, I'm talking about in life in general. I feel like we kind of already get the idea of, okay, you're not supposed to date this kind of guy. I feel like that's starting to get oversaturated. I really want to dive in more deeper. The more episodes that I produce, the more deeper and deeper I want to really get into just transforming yourself as a woman. And I feel like a lot of you have an issue with understanding that things are a process, and you have to take your time when it comes to whatever it is that you want. Even when you're trying to start a new business, or when you're in a new career, or when you're looking for the love of your life, everything is a process. You need to enjoy the process. The process is where it's more fun. The process is more fulfilling. You get what I'm saying? The process of things are more fulfilling. You need to understand that, okay, well, I'm enjoying the fact that I'm looking for someone, or I'm enjoying the fact that I'm transforming into a different woman. I'm enjoying the fact that I just started this business and I may not make as much sales right now, but I know eventually I will get there. Consistency, being consistent, trusting that it's always going to work out. Faith, having faith. Just to conclude everything that I'm saying, 2 things. Number 1, look at the relationship that you have with the masculine energies in your family, and that's going to really help you to understand your dating life. Secondly, when it comes to your family's opinions, don't give a damn. Do what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, when you are going 6 feet under, all they're going to do is cry for a few weeks, and after that, they're going to move on with their life. So you live your life the way you want to live your life. Whatever it is you want to do it now. And I'm letting you know right now, the Level Up Guide will be released this month. So don't worry, I got your back. Hello. And guys, I'm going to leave you with that. If you're listening on Google Podcasts, if you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from, thank you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. It truly helps my channel. And turn on the notification bell to be notified when I upload more episodes. And guys, you already know the drill. Until we meet again.